The clock on my nightstand glowed 2:17 a.m. when I awoke to the most unsettling feeling. The room was unusually silent, save for the sound of the wind brushing against the windows of our two-story suburban home in Lincoln, Nebraska. My German Shepherd, Max, normally slept at the foot of the bed, and I could usually feel his warm, rhythmic breathing nearby. But this time, the space was empty. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, trying to shake off the grogginess. A faint whimper echoed from the hallway. It was Max, no doubt about it. That was his cry. It wasn't a bark, not even his usual whine when he wanted to go outside. It was something else. Something distressed. I swung my legs out of bed, pulling my robe tighter around me. Max. I called out softly, stepping onto the cool hardwood floor. There was a pause, complete silence. Then another whimper. This time, it sounded closer. I walked to the bedroom door and slowly turned the knob. The hallway was dark, but the nightlight near the stairs gave off just enough illumination to cast tall, eerie shadows. Max stood there in the middle of the hallway, staring at me. But something about his posture was off. His ears were back, his tail low, and he looked worried. "What is it, boy?" I whispered, approaching him. Max didn't move. Instead, he turned his head sharply toward the guest room door. My heart skipped a beat. That room hadn't been used in months, ever since my daughter, Megan, moved out for college. I hadn't even gone in there. He took a step toward the door, then looked back at me as if urging me to follow. I hesitated, but then, trusting my instincts and his behavior, I followed him. Max stopped at the guest room door and placed one paw gently on it. I opened the door slowly. The air inside was still, thick with the kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. The moonlight from the window cast a silvery beam across the bed. Everything looked untouched. I stepped inside, with Max right beside me. That's when he suddenly growled, not the playful kind, but a deep, guttural growl I had never heard from him before. My eyes darted across the room. Nothing moved. The closet door was slightly ajar. Max's growl deepened. My throat tightened. I wanted to tell myself this was ridiculous, that there was no reason to be scared in my own home, but Max had never acted like this. I reached out slowly and opened the closet door all the way. Empty. I exhaled. "See? Nothing, boy." But Max didn't relax. He pushed past me and sniffed the inside of the closet. Then, to my absolute shock, he pawed at the floorboards inside. "What are you doing?" I asked, crouching beside him. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. One of the floorboards had a small crack running down the middle, almost like it had been pried open recently. My heart pounded. I had owned this house for over 10 years. There had never been anything strange about it. I pressed down on the board, and it gave slightly. So, I pried it up with my fingers. Beneath it was a shallow cavity, and inside it was a folded piece of paper. Max sat beside me, watching quietly now, his ears still alert. I unfolded the paper slowly, my hands trembling. It was a letter, handwritten. Old. If you're reading this, it means you've found the hiding spot. I'm sorry I had to keep it a secret. He was watching me. I think he's still in the house. Don't trust the quiet. The breath caught in my throat. What the hell is this? I muttered aloud. Suddenly, Max let out a sharp bark and darted toward the hallway. I leapt up and followed. His paws skidded slightly on the wooden floor as he ran toward the basement door. He barked again. "Max, wait." I called, racing after him. But it was too late. He had pawed open the basement door and was already heading down. I hadn't been in the basement in a couple of weeks. It was just used for storage, nothing else. I flicked on the light, but it didn't come on. Strange. I reached for the flashlight hanging on the kitchen wall and made my way downstairs. Max was standing halfway down the stairs, growling at something in the darkness below. I stopped in my tracks. "Is someone down there?" I called, feeling both ridiculous and terrified. No answer. I shone the flashlight down the stairs and froze. The basement window had been smashed in from the outside. I slowly descended the rest of the stairs, flashlight in one hand, the letter still in the other. Max stayed glued to my side. My heart thundered in my chest. I checked every corner of the basement, every shadow, every box. Nothing. Just glass shards on the floor. No footprints. No signs of forced entry other than the window. Who had written the letter? And what did they mean by "don't trust the quiet"? Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right in the house. Max wouldn't leave my side. He'd sleep in my bed now, ears perked at every creak in the walls. And every night, like clockwork, he'd wake me around 2 a.m., pacing, whining alert. I eventually contacted the previous owner of the home, a woman named Carol Edwards who now lived in Florida. She was kind enough to answer my call and listen patiently when I asked her if anything strange had ever happened when she lived here. There was a long pause on the other end before she finally spoke. I never wanted to scare the next family, but yes. My husband passed away suddenly in that house. In the guest room. My throat went dry.
How?
They never found out exactly, she said, voice trembling.
He wasn't sick.
Just collapsed. And the night before, our dog had acted strange too. My skin prickled. She added, I found a letter under one of the floorboards afterward. I thought it was from someone playing a prank. So I moved out. I told her about the one I found. That's terrifying, she whispered. That night, I couldn't sleep. Max stayed curled at my side, breathing deeply. I kept the flashlight beside me, just in case. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Max woke again. Only this time, he didn't whine. He stood up, alert, ears up. The air in the room suddenly felt cold. Then, I heard a creak. But it wasn't from the hallway or the stairs. It was inside my room. Max leapt off the bed and stood in the corner, growling at seemingly nothing. I turned on the flashlight and scanned the room. No one. Nothing. But Max kept barking at the same corner. My blood ran cold. I whispered, Whoever's here, just leave us alone. Then, just like that, Max sat down.
Calm.
Breathing steady, as if something had passed. It never happened again after that night. No more broken windows. No more strange letters. No more creaks in the night. But I never forgot. Max had saved me. Somehow he knew. He had sensed a presence that night, and whatever it was, he faced it head-on. Every day since, I've looked at him not just as my dog, but as something far more. A guardian. A protector. And a reminder that sometimes, when the night falls and the world is quiet, it's not always safe to be alone. Especially when your dog suddenly wakes you in the middle of the night.